Hello, everyone. We are with Justice Katju, and our topic of discussion is uh, mm, parental child abduction from USA to India. Uh, I'll give uh, mic to so-called mic to Justice Katju. Just I wanted to set some of the ground rules before we start. One of that is we. I shared an agenda. We will sort of follow that agenda so that we don't deviate from our plan. Other thing is that please be gracious to other people. Don't interrupt people or don't ask questions before asked to. And lastly but not least, when we get to the Q&A session, just stick to one topic, and then you can ask question about one more topic. And again, thanks, Justice Katju, for your time. And go ahead.
Friends, it's a pleasure to be with all of you and also to be with those who are on the hangout. Manu has been in touch with me for over a week about the issue of abduction of children from the United States to India by one of the parents. And today, some of the people who have come here, Kamal Satdev and some others, they have mentioned of another problem which NRIs in the US are facing. That is, they may not have a child, but their wives have left them and gone to India and filed cases under Section 498A or Domestic Violence Act cases or Section 120, all kinds of criminal cases against them, with the result that they are harassed. In fact, sometimes if they go to India, they'll get arrested. Their passports may be impounded, so they will have difficulty in coming back to the US, and thereby they may lose their jobs here. So we had originally thought of only discussing cases of abduction of children by one of the parents from the US to India. But now we are expanding the topic to a second aspect, that is the harassment by the wife who has gone back to India and filed all kinds of criminal cases against the husband to harass him. Now, originally, so far as the abduction law was concerned, the judgment of the Supreme Court in 1984 in Surinder Sandhu's case was that in such a case, the Indian court should return the child back to the UK from where the child had been abducted by one of the parents. But since then, different view has been taken in Dhanvanti Joshi's case of, I think, 1999, where the Supreme Court took a different view and said that the judgments of the foreign courts are not binding on us, although that is a factor which may be taken into consideration. And the law of foreign countries is not binding on us because India is a sovereign country. So the law is also in not a very settled state in India. At present, what happens is that if, say, the wife, normally it is the wife who abducts the child from the US and takes the child to India. Although there are cases where the husband has also done that. Then, even if the husband obtains an order of custody from an American court, the Indian authorities will not comply with that order because India has not signed the Hague Convention of 1980, which requires the country where the child has been taken after abduction to return it to the country from where it was taken. India has not signed the Hague Convention. So the Indian authorities will not comply with the orders of the American court for restoring custody to the father. You will have to file a case in the Indian courts. The problem with the Indian courts is that firstly it takes too long to decide a case. Years and years it will take in the trial court, then first appeal, there also it will take many years, then second appeal. It will take 10-15 years, and by that time the child would have grown up and become a man, and the bonding which you require. Please come.
May I join you, sir?
Yes, please
Yes.
come. We were just, I was just explaining what is the legal position in India. You see, the legal position in India in 1984 was that if a child is abducted from UK, that was in Sandhu's case, by one of the parents, then the Indian courts must order return of the child back to UK. But that law was changed subsequently in the case of Dhanvanti Joshi's case in 1999. And there it was held by the Indian Supreme Court that the Indian authorities are not bound by the decisions of the British courts or the British authorities. And the if an abducted child is brought to India, then since India has not signed the Hague Convention of 1980, there is no obligation on the Indian government to return the child to USA or UK, as the case may be, from where the child has been abducted. So you will have to file a case in the Indian court. You as a father will have to go to India, and you may have to take the risk of facing 498A proceedings, another criminal proceeding where you may be arrested. But even if you go there and file a case for custody under the Guardians and Wards Act, the court will decide on the paramount consideration of the welfare of the child. That is the law. Of course, what is in the paramount interest of the welfare of the child requires several considerations, several aspects. That, of course, will become, but the point is the decision will come after 10, 15, 20 years. The trial court may take years and years, then first appeal may take so many years, then second appeal. By that time, the child would have grown up and become a young man, and then it's useless because you want the child to bond with you as a father so that at a young age, the child should be with you. So the law in India is still in a very unsettled, unpredictable state. On the same facts, one judge will take one view, another judge will take another view. The law is an anarchic state in India. When Manu had contacted me about this problem of illegal abduction of children from the United States of India, I immediately contacted many very senior lawyers of the Supreme Court of India, like Mr. K. Venugopal, Mr. P.P. Rao, Mr. Fadi Nariman, Mr. Shanti Bhushan, Mr. Biswajit Bhattacharya, and so on. Some of them were on holiday because Indian Supreme Court is closed for summer vacations. So they did not respond to my email. Perhaps they did not see the email, but some of them did. Mr. P.P. Rao, who is a very senior lawyer of the Indian Supreme Court, is about 80 years of age, very highly respected. He had in fact argued the case of Ravi Parma. Ravi, are you here with us? Can you
Ravi, I can check if just
check up whether Ravi is here? Ravi has an organization in New Jersey where he looks after such cases of abducted children. So Mr. P.P. Rao had handled the case of Ravi in the Supreme Court a few years back, and Mr. P.P. Rao, on receiving my email, got his juniors to work on the job and sent a reply which I circulated to all of you, in which he recommended that we should file a public interest litigation in India and gave some other suggestions. Then I spoke to Mr. K.K. Venugopal, who was a very senior lawyer of the Indian Supreme Court, also about 80 years of age. He is presently in the United States, in Chicago. I got his contact number, so I spoke to him personally. He had an eyelid operation, so he's here. But we discussed the matter, and he has given some good suggestions. And I discussed with Biswajit Bhattacharya, former Additional Solicitor General, and his son Chandrachud, who's also an advocate in the Supreme Court in India, and several others. Plus, I also uh, read all the decisions of the Indian Supreme. For last 1 week, I have been studying this problem of yours because it's a human problem, and I did feel that you people needed help. So it's very good that this meeting has been called, and I would like the views of all of you. Now we have expanded the scope of our discussion. We are not limiting it to abduction of children. There are cases like the case of Kamal Sajde sitting here, who doesn't have a child, but his wife has left him and gone to India and she's filed all kinds of criminal cases against him, Section 498A, IPC, then
breach of trust, 420.
420,
Yeah.
Domestic Violence Act, all kinds of cases. Now he's afraid of going to India that he may be arrested and his passport may be impounded. So the court tries to
Her
so the
lawyer-
police.
Yeah, the police, and even they are asking in the court for the courts to impound it.
They get the passport impounded, so you can't come back to the United States. With the result, you lose your job here. So you are afraid of going to India, you'll be arrested,
Yes.
and you may not be able to come back. These are all the problems which are being faced. So the second part is now cases where there is no child, but yet there's a problem going to India because of
Which state is?
UP, Uttar Pradesh. Yes.
Uttar Pradesh.
Yes.
so
I am an IPS officer, retired IPS officer from UP.
UP. Okay, I'm from UP too,
I know.
from
In
Allahabad.
fact, we have certain similarities. That's why I was attracted. I didn't have any problem like this. So I thought of taking this opportunity to meet you.
Very good.
So I was born and brought up in Tamil Nadu,
All right.
UP cadre,
Okay.
and served
okay.
in Delhi also. All the three
Okay.
places.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That's wonderful. So, before I open up the discussion to all of you, I'll just tell you very briefly. One of the good ideas which can be pursued is that I'm going back to India on the 16th of July. And after that, I intend to form an organization there of like-minded people who will help you. And I request Mr. P.P. Rao himself to be the head of this organization. A very senior lawyer, very respected lawyer. And of course, I'll be a sort of patron and helping behind the scenes. But we need a group of lawyers. And we should file a public interest litigation in the Supreme Court that now the law needs to be clarified.
Yes.
It's in a very unsettled state in India, because of which a lot of problems are being caused. I was told almost 2,000 abductions are taking place every year from the United States. It's a huge number of illegal abductions, and the amount of mental trauma which you people are facing. You want to bond with
On
your
the child, on trauma on the
No,
child.
he knows that.
498A is grossly
How
misused.
can you have it that the thing happened in the US is out of jurisdiction? How can the Indian police?
So let's
let him continue.
let's talk about it.
I'll tell you, that's all very well in theory. In reality, is the police wants to make money. They will come. They are not going to go and inquire about your jurisdiction.
Our police were detected, but
The jurisdiction disappears when the money comes. When the money comes in front of you, you forget the jurisdiction. Whether America has jurisdiction or India has jurisdiction. Now money has jurisdiction. So, money has jurisdiction. So forget about these. Come down to the earth. You are floating in the skies. Please come to the earth. The reality is this. So we should file a public interest litigation. For that, we must formulate what directives we will pray for from the Supreme Court. For example, one directive we should pray for is that arrest should not be ordered in such cases. Otherwise, no NRI can come to India, because he faces arrest, he faces impounding of his passport. It's impossible for him to come. So directive should be given that the passport should not be impounded, arrest should not be done, and we will give an undertaking whenever court wants. We will cooperate with the court. It is not that we are an absconder or something,
Correct.
but this kind of harassment should. So we will prepare a public interest litigation formulating what directives we pray for from the Supreme Court. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 20, 30 directives. The Supreme Court may not grant all of them, but some of them I'm sure they will grant, taking a humanitarian view of the matter, that this is a huge problem being faced by the NRIs in America. Secondly, Mr. K.K. Venugopal, I had a long discussion with him on the telephone. And I told you he's in Chicago actually. He's going back on 3rd July, as he told me. Because Supreme Court is reopening, I think, on 5th July. Indian Supreme Court. No. I told him, he said that, this should not be considered only from the point of view of law. Because some of you have this tendency of looking at it purely from the legal angle. With due respect, Ravi, are you on the line?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, he can. Yeah, I think there's like
He can't answer back.
he will have to type the Q&A. I can call him actually.
All right.
Yeah.
Now Ravi I spoke to Ravi Parmar, his own son, for 3 years. He has not been able to see his son who's in Pune. I can understand his plight, his mental condition, but he looks at it from a purely legal angle. That when my child was illegally abducted from America, the child should be restored back to America. That seems fine in theory. It comes to the realities. How will the child be restored? Who will restore? India has not signed the Hague Convention. There is no. You will have to file a case in court, Indian court. Indian court will decide on the basis of the paramount consideration of the welfare of the child. Custody cases are decided on this basis. That what will be in the welfare, in the interest of the welfare of the child. Now on that, there are many factors, and also even to decide this will take 20 years. The Indian judicial process is so slow; it will go on for years in the trial court, then first appeal, second appeal. So even if ultimately the decision is in your favor, but if it takes 10, 15, 20 years to decide, what is the use of such a decision? Because
आपको कुछ ला दे cold drink क्या कुछ?
Cold drink. I'd love some cold coffee. So, what I suggested to Mr. Venugopal is about visitation rights. See, let me tell you very frankly, I had some such cases before me when I was a judge in the Supreme Court. Cases of custody by some of you. As a judge, I will not like to wrench a child away, maybe 2-year, 3-year-old child, physically tear him apart from his or her mother and send the child to America. From a human point of view, no judge will do it. Please be realistic. A small child will not be taken away from the mother by most human beings and sent back to America to be with the mother. Most judges are also emotional people. They are human people. They will not do it. Then the question is of visitation rights. In some decision, like in Dhanvanti or Dhanvanti Joshi's case or this Sarita Sharma's case, orders were passed that where the child and mother was in Pune, that the father can have visitation rights. He can come for 3 hours twice a week. Now, such directives are unrealistic. How can you expect a man to come from America to India every week? Totally unrealistic orders were passed. So I discussed this with Mr. K.K. Venugopal, and I said, sir, these kind of orders, visitation rights should be effective where the father can exercise it. Can he come every week to India to visit his son? So then he suggested that during summer vacations, when the child start going to preschool, from 3 years of age nowadays, children start going to school. For 2 months in a year, during summer vacation, child can be sent to America to be with the father and to bond with the father. And then after 2 months, sent back to the mother in India. The problem there is that the mother will be suspicious and apprehensive that if once my child goes to America, the child may never come back, because then the father will say that my child was illegally abducted by my wife under the American law. I'm under no obligation to send back the child, even if I have given an undertaking. Even if I have given an undertaking. So we must have a foolproof case, a foolproof method of ensuring that if the child is brought to America for 2 months in a year during summer vacations or Christmas vacations, to be with the father and bond with the father. But after that period, he must be sent back to the mother. We have to work out how we can have a foolproof case, because the mothers will be very suspicious and apprehensive about this. They will think this is just a trick or an underhand method to take away my child permanently from me, because very often the parental relations are strained. The husband and wife, they become enemies of each other. They hate each other. They are very suspicious of each other. So we have to devise some foolproof method where this can be effective. These safeguards can be provided. In the case of where there's no child, but the wife has gone back to India and filed all kinds of criminal cases against the husband, we must get some safeguards that this should not mean, they should not be used as a tool to sort of become vindictive towards the husband. You know, even if there's no real dowry demand, yes, 498 is readily filed, is one of the most misused provisions in India. And very readily the wife files it under the advice of some lawyer. Lawyers also give this advice, and then cheating case, 420, robbery case, this, that.
These days I've seen like
Section 125, domestic violence, all kinds of.
And I apologize for saying between, but these days this vindictiveness has moved to a next level where sometimes the father-in-law, not in my case, but has been accused of molestation or molesting the daughter-in-law, and making the bail hard, and all sorts of tricks can be played in the law.
So we have to get the law clarified on this. Now, please don't expect the law to be clarified by Indian Parliament. The Indian Parliament is non-functional. It does not function. If you see Indian television, right from day one, there is halla gulla and shouting and screaming. There's no effective debate, and 10 people are shouting at the same time. Every day, the Parliament is disrupted. The whole session passes without any thing being done. So please don't expect anything from these politicians.
But judiciary can help.
Judiciary
right?
can. You're right. We can file a PIL in the Indian Supreme Court. It's comprehensive. It has to be very well drafted. It has to be
watertight.
Discussed with top lawyers like Mr. P.P. Rao and others, which I will do when I get back to India, so that we can get directives from the Supreme Court which are binding all over. Supreme Court directives are binding all over India. That, I think, should be a solution. Now I invite suggestions from all of you. Please give your suggestions.
So, sir, the way we wanted to do was some of the issues which we printed out, we'll just go over one by one so that we don't miss out. And just for folks on Hangout, video may come on and go, but audio should be working because of internet connection of this thing. And it is all getting recorded, so beware of if you want to not share your identity, or whatever, beware that this is getting recorded. One thing I think folks who are present in person, some of the victims, they wanted to show like pictures of victims who are the kids. So I took their permission. I'll destroy their picture. I didn't want to share it over electronic media because they are pictures of kids. So these are the victims basically. I mean, the one is me basically. So I'll just go over a few of the issues, and then we can talk about personal situation of some of the folks, and hopefully we go over all the points and issues. So one of the issue with, we'll start out with majorly parental child abduction. And the issue what we face with child abduction to India is that most of the time what we have seen is the abductor parent tries to have it both ways. So many times the child custody case is litigated in USA. Abductor parent does want to, get shared custody and child support or divorce property division. And a lot of times, the motivation what people guess is that if you don't get favorable result in US, like maybe not 100% custody or so, or it's just a matter of taking revenge, like child. It's like there used to be a story in our childhood that the life of a prince was in the small bird. So life of the other parent remains in the other child. So if they take that away, it's kind of way of getting back at the other parent. So that somewhat we have seen many times becomes like a child is used as a pawn to get back to other parent for whatever reason. People have, when married people are getting a divorce, they have all sorts of issues. It becomes like a war. And few times we have seen, like, parents collect child support both in India. They file for maintenance. They file for child support in US as well. They collect maintenance in India as well. So they want to have best of the both world, and that angle also plays well.
It's falling off the plate.
So one issue which we have seen. One issue which we have seen is that, which surprised many of the NRIs, that in US court, if you come, like for example, we have seen instances where somebody brought child from India to US, and Indian court had given custody order not to that parent who brought the child to US. So US court goes ahead and enforces the order, saying that, Indian court passed this order, how can you bring child out of India? So what we have seen is sort of, especially lower courts, they don't follow this process of, I think the legal term is the comity of nations, basically comity of law, sort of honoring laws from both court.
No, but that was the law in Sandhu's case in 1984
Yeah.
in India.
Yeah.
But that has been changed in Dhanvanti Joshi's case. See, this Committee of Nations expression was used in Surinder Sandhu's case in 1984 by the Indian Supreme Court, that since the UK court has passed an order in favor of one of the parents, we must respect the order of the UK court and we must restore the custody.
Yeah.
But that has all been changed
Mhm.
in Dhanvanti Joshi's case in 1999.
And that, I think, comes to many of parents here as surprise, because none of us grew up reading the law or what the current matter is, and you first instinct is our kids are gone, or we are not seeing our kids. We go to the court where kid was living, or where the custody matter was decided, and then before we realize that we have to also then go to or so.
No, you have to go to the Indian court, and Indian court will decide on this basis that Indian court will find what is in the paramount interest of the welfare of the child. Is the paramount interest of the welfare of the child to send the child back to US or UK or not? But even this to be decided may take 10 years.
Yeah.
If it is decided quickly, maybe the Indian court may come to the conclusion that yes, it's in the interest of the child to send it back to US. But the Indian court will take 10 years. By the time the child will have grown up, and the decision will be no use.
Yeah.
You want bonding with the child from childhood, not when he's a young man.
Our child actually needs like presence of father and mother both.
Exactly. So it's both ways.
And so the one of the reason, like a lot of people, who are not, common man, or even NRIs ask, why don't you just go to India? And as you said, it just takes.
It will take 10 years, 15 years.
And many.
It's useless. The whole thing is useless, because after 15 years, what is the use of a decision when the child has become a man?
And many times what happens is the parent who has taken kid to India, if they are savvy enough, they have good legal advice, they actually prolong the case. They file custody case in US also. They prolong it, and knowing that if the court gives order against them, they don't need to follow it. So that's what happens. They prolong the US custody case, and then you carry on in India. And one of the practical difficulty what people have seen when NRIs file for a custody case in India, many times their physical presence is required during hearings, and these trips can be costly, and they can.
You may be arrested in 498A proceeding. Your passport may be impounded.
Yeah.
You may not be able to come back for 1 or 2 years to America, and you may lose your job here because your company will not wait for you to come back.
We get lookout circulars too.
Yes.
So
you will get a pink slip.
So we
sacked.
So one of a lot of times NRIs try to do POA through their parents or so, or even try for Skype attendance through hearing. Those get routinely denied, even POA through parents.
No, we have to file a public interest. We have to get clear directive. Now, law has to be clarified because law in India is in a very unsettled state. There must be clear-cut directive, and that can only come from the Supreme Court. Please don't expect it from Parliament. Parliament is non-functional. I've given a statement that there is no Parliament. It's only existing in name. Right from day one, there is shouting and screaming, 10 people talking together. There is no meaningful discussion or debate. Nothing happens. The whole session. We have to go to the Supreme Court and get directives from there.
But your pen has the mic, right?
Sorry?
The judge's pen has the mic.
Yeah, exactly. So
that
is where we have to go.
Yeah.
You have to go not to the legislature. Normally, the task of making laws is that of the legislature, not of judiciary. But when the legislature is paralyzed, then the gap has to be filled in by the judgment, as it was held in Vishaka's case. There is a judgment of Vishaka's case about women working in the workplace who were harassed. So that in Vishaka's case, the Supreme Court laid down the law, and they said this will be the law until Parliament makes some other law. And similarly, in Aruna Shanbok's case, which I decided, where it was about euthanasia, mercy killing, very famous judgment, where we laid down the law of passive euthanasia in India.
Was it the nurse case?
She recently
my
passed
mother
away.
told me about it.
She recently
couldn't
passed
speak and
She recently
She recently passed away.
Yeah.
So in that judgment, you can read Aruna Shanbok versus Union of India, available online.
Yeah.
We laid down the law. We'll say this will be the law until Parliament makes some law. So we filled in the gap. Actually, we are not supposed to make law. It is for the legislature to make it. But when the legislature is not doing anything, so sometimes we fill in the gap.
Yeah.
So this is what can be done in these cases.
So one of the issue I think you already went over for NRI. What we talked about till now was mostly for any NRI parent, but in case of NRI dads, they get all these sorts of cases like 498A, 406, DV packages, and I think there was a point made about jurisdiction. Most of these cases are talking about alleged incidents happening in US. And none of the prosecutors and cops generally take up these cases in the US. So that's what happens. You alluded to in India, getting a police to register cases depends on money or
Police is
whatnot.
corrupt, so they will, for money, they'll harass you.
Yeah. And regarding traveling to India, then there's the whole issue of the passport getting impounded and lookout circular, and you lose your visa, job,
And you may get arrested there.
No, it happens. There are people in the forum. Krishna Chawda, a guy, he was detained at the airport and then he was asked to surrender, and those things do happen. We have people in the forum who have gone through.
Who was arrested and jailed for 2 weeks.
So, is anybody in the hangout also going to join us?
Actually, they are not able to speak and they're not. So
Okay,
Nihar wants to ask questions.
let me try to fix the audio. So guys, just hold. It's
Don't
it's
we have
not
the
a,
conference number from our weekly calls? They can join on there.
mm,
Yeah, put it on speakerphone.
yeah, the people are asking some of the questions, actually typing the Q&A. So let's see. Wish people can speak.
Or you can just show him on this Telegram thing if you want. You can ask there.
You know what? Let me share my number to them, and if the people have any comment,
Conference thing
yeah,
or what?
No, we can use the Saturday conference number, right? People can dial in there. Cancel the hangout, but just leave it for a comment.
No, let it get recorded. So let me share the conference number with folks. Let's see.
See, because Nihar, Gaurav, and Sai, these people are trying to ask questions, they are saying. So
One at a time. And just put it on speaker.
I think he's trying to conference everyone.
So this is a broadcast meeting. So it is like a public broadcast, sort of like concert kind of thing. I can give people number.
Hello. Welcome to free conference calling. Conference has not started. We will now connect you to your call. You are the first attendee in this conference.
Should I
The
tell them?
host has joined the conference.
Yeah. So if they want to speak, they can speak as well.
So join the usual safe call.
Yeah, this conference. I've shared the conference details as well. So, folks, just to looks like there's no voice back. You can type in questions in here as well, like a broadcast session. But I've shared a conference call detail, which you can call in to share your, you can voice actually your opinion. So. Do join the phone conference call if you want to share your thoughts over voice. Otherwise, I'm reading your questions as well. I'll share it with. So one of the, I think the question I think is that this situation. I think Ashwin has the situation where he's talking about mother left 2 children in U.S. and took 1 child to India. The other situation is, I mean, people are saying, what.
This is fine. Gaurav.
Please, guys, please mute your phone if you're not speaking. So other situation is that, people are, I mean, one question.
Situation, I think Ashwin has the situation where talking about his mother left children.
One situation is that people are sort of, I think, you're bringing them down to earth also. That people are saying, okay, custody case is decided in US. Why not just implement that order in India? But I think you covered that aspect anyway.
It has been held in Dhanvanti Joshi's case that decisions of US courts are not binding in India. It may be one factor which may be taken into consideration, but it's not a binding one.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, there's too many people on the call and they're not following the. So one of the issue, going over the issues again, one of the trauma I think also happens with the parents of the left behind parent. I mean left behind. So for example, a father or mother whose child was kidnapped. What happens is that there's no concept of visitation right for uh, grandparents or so. Uh, we have seen in US at least, like, grandparents have right to visit their children even if their son or daughter might be off to jail and
And here
US.
they are in India, actually, you can say.
So here, I mean, even if the father or mother cannot go every weekend to visit his son, at least his mother or father can go and visit that's a practical solution, but that doesn't happen, that doesn't materialize. Obviously there's no legal framework for that as well. That's and one thing what happens is that obviously they become the soft target, like we see in movies, like the parents of the I mean, they're fighting the custody case here, and many times they become soft target to yield on. They are told that, okay, why don't you tell your son or daughter to give up the U.S. custody case? Why is he pursuing the case there? So those kind of sort of blackmail also, they become the front line. That whole struggle happens.
So the kid and the grandparents, I think they got the parents.
Yeah. And I think we talked about 498A as well. In some of the cases, I think we have seen even the NRI parents who don't have access to children, they have maintenance cases against them in India, and those areas build up, and to collect those areas, their senior citizens' parents are getting thrown out of the house, saying that, okay, let's attach this property. Obviously that's a struggle. I mean, they have to go through around court.
It has happened to my father. The DM is trying to do the tahsil collection. So.
And in many cases it's not these days explicitly done, but they're saying, okay, bring the NRI person to India, then we'll give you bail. Then we'll give you custody visitation. First, let him come here. So that becomes like a chicken and egg issue, right? Your parents are not getting bail, you're not getting bail, but they want you to be there, which is
especially when 406 is involved in the company.
You remember you had sent me that from Punjab, Haryana High Court, where the parents were denied bail in 498 because the son was in a.
That was 2013 itself, yeah.
Yeah, he was denied, and Chennai High Court did something similar at once.
Now that's looking at it from one angle. There's another angle which may also be considered, because as a judge I have been given the training from both sides. The other angle that Shubhangi, is she on the?
Yeah, she is on there.
She talked about it. The other angle is that you people are on H1 visa, which means you have a right to work. I'm not talking about any of you personally. I'm talking generally. You go to India, marry someone who comes on H4 visa, which means she has no right to work. She does not know anybody. She's totally dependent on you. Some of you, I'm not saying all of you, some of you treat your wives very badly and expect her to work like a domestic servant or something, and sometimes even beating the wife or whatever. And after some time, the wife cannot take it anymore, and she leaves and goes back to India. This is what one version which some people have told me. Mind you, see, I'm totally detached, and I want justice to be done. You understand? Please don't misunderstand me. But this is also one aspect which should be considered. It is said by some people that from their point of view, many wives run away for this reason, that they are not given respect. They are bring here and just they don't have any friends. They are on H4 visa. They don't have any money. Totally dependent on you. They are not treated properly. That aspect has also to be considered.
though that law has been changed recently, they can just work
with the
now.
light of that same thing, when a person comes, like say a wife on H4, if she comes first time to US and she has restriction to, even if she wants to study further, it might not be aligned with the semester system here, and obviously she couldn't work immediately. So just because of those facts, it's easy to fall thinking that okay, I have nothing to do, all I have to do is like housework, and that feeling of
Lack of
domestic
freedom or whatever.
lack of freedom comes in very fast.
Yeah.
For that same reason that the law has now changed. It's for spouse
Law is
cannot-
now she can work.
Since this
Yeah.
May, they can work.
Just
Yes.
recently that has
One of the
changed.
social change which happens is like in US is a sort of different society. When we came here also, we were also surprised there's no dhobi or kama.
We did everything on our
No,
own.
we go through
So
that,
there's an
there is a
acclimatization
lot of
phase.
financial as well as social adjustment for first couple of years, but just that when we come as a student or like when we come on our own, we don't have anything to rely on, and within like
But to blame
couple of
on
years-
us sometimes.
Yeah. So like
You can
within a
have
couple of years we kind of
Shubhangi's
grow
point of
into
view. We
that.
can
Yeah.
ask her point of view also.
Yeah, let's see if she's there. Shubhangi, are you there? Shubhangi, if you're there, can you speak up on the conference call? Guys, can you guys mute? Can everyone mute the conference call? There's a lag or something. Yeah, let me. Yeah.
You can turn it on.
I think that technology.
So like the first 2 years in the US for
Yes.
anyone are very hard. I mean, I don't know what others did when I came. I said I regret it. I used to cry. But there is a period where after 2 years of your education, you can get a job, and I understand they might have had a hard time. But it does require 2 to 3 years of a period where you know nothing, you don't know neighbors, you don't know how to find your way out. And then you have to go through college, and many wives of my friends who have been here, they were engineers in India, independent women. They went through a period where they got admits into the US universities. It took them 2 years, but now they are very well employed. But yeah, the thing that you could get a maid or you could find a domestic person to work for you is very hard. It's next to impossible unless you are in the elite.
This feeling is especially true with urban girls who get married who have been working before, and after marriage they don't have work. So I mean they are used to routine of working whole day. They don't get to work right away once they come here. There is a adjustment phase socially, financially, every
They know before marriage, right? It's not something it's by choice.
Yeah. I'm just saying
But
because of
I mean,
restriction or whatever.
because
is
we
there.
have to understand the other side of the point as well. So I think
I'm getting married some NRI. There is a money directly behind him. You will take care of everything, right? Something doesn't work. I'll try to share my case. Sorry, sir. Sorry to
Yes,
I was,
can we
no, sorry. This is the time to talk. No, because I was diagnosed with the cancer. No, this is the time because I will see my pictures in hospital. See my pictures in hospital. My wife, I had a baby. See, no, there is a limit for everything. So, see my baby. I was diagnosed with a rare form of colon cancer, sir, in 2010, July. I had a baby in 2010, May 29. July 29th, I had a surgery. Immediately, 2 years, she was happy, enjoying. I'm like an entertainment channel. I took care of everything. After my cancer diagnosis, she was Googling. She is a computer engineer. And how many years you live? 3 years? Maximum 5 years? She went back to India to attend her brother's wedding in December 2010. And after that, my cancer relapsed. Only 2% people survive with that kind of state. She asked me, send your reports. I sent all my reports. She showed doctors in India. She said, you're going to die in 6 months. This guy, he is my friend. He took me to 1 year chemotherapy and I had a surgery. My entire log intestine is taken out. She filed 498 against me. She did not allow my parents to come here and take care of him. This guy, 1.5 years, I had a cough, cold, fever. I said I had a cancer and relapsed. It was a stage 4 cancer. This guy, the cancer friends helped me. This guy, his boss gave off 48 hours infusions in hospital. Multiple times he was with me 100 times in the hospital. I had a surgery. I can give you the reports.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. I think we believe
it's not type of diabetes.
you can
No,
share.
no, he understands that. He understands.
Please, this kind of something they are same thing happens to girls. Even Obama will give a Bharat Ratna award. Somebody will give a Bharat Ratna award. But it happened to me, sir. Who will speak to me? I was awarded with the 498 day. What should I do, sir?
Take it.
498A is one of the most misused provisions.
No, what should I do, sir? Should I fight for my life? Should I fight for my life? Should I fight for my baby? Should I fight for myself?
How old is your son?
2% people survive, sir.
Actually, he has not seen. He has been requesting for last 5 years. Please share some pictures, share some videos. Let me at least do a WebEx. Blue sky. Nothing. They don't allow anything.
What is his side of the story?
So her side of the story is the moment she went after the marriage of her brother, she started filing cases. 498.
What is the reason? What is the reason? Does she accuse you or something?
No. Let me tell you one more. In the FIR copy, it was mentioned my husband has a cancer. He's going through a cancer treatment, and he's demanding 20 lakhs for cancer treatment. And it's a dowry harassment. Please ask him. I'll give the FIR copy too. Can you hear about this?
Money 20 lakhs from my parents.
For his
In the FIR, it was
For cancer treatment.
money, answering money from her
in-laws,
your wife, your in-laws.
That's
She's
what
allegation.
Allegation.
And the
him that
weird
he's
part
asking
is
money for
everyone in
cancer
India is a common sense. Here, nobody can. If you don't have medical insurance,
You'll
you
just
will
die.
You will die.
Yeah.
Definitely, you will die.
bankrupt.
So basically, any employee here is supposed to have medical insurance. So let's say I ask 20 lakhs. What will I do with that?
Actually, that's nothing.
So the
Yeah.
problem is, if you convert that into US dollar, it's zero.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
40,000.
Second thing, police also, without even verifying anything, they filed FIR, which is against the law. Okay, police wants money. Then they start harassing his parents. So now his situation is his father just went through a surgery 15 days back. And he is having so much trouble. He cannot go back to India because of the same cases you said. You know, his passport will be impounded. He will not be able to come back. So that's okay.
So much struggle.
Last 5 years, he has been going through so much struggle without anything. No, I have seen his family. I am his family friend.
That's what I'm
And no
saying.
problem at all.
See, that therefore what I suggest is, let us prepare a comprehensive public
Yeah.
interest litigation petition to be filed at the Supreme Court. And one of the concrete examples will be his example, which we will mention in the petition, giving detail, and we will seek directives from the Supreme Court that there should not be harassment in such cases. There should-
Conference unmuted.
So I think what Katju sir is saying is that I mean there's a specific case situation, and I think there's a probably someone like you doesn't have to go through what you went through. He wants to do something about it.
But at the same time, please, now you have considered only your case. Can there not be cases, not your case, other cases where the husband was harassing the wife? Is it not possible?
It is. Yes.
Where, oh, listen, you only think of your case.
Let him speak first. Let him
You are
speak.
not the only human being in the world.
No, I'm not saying.
There are other human beings in the world also. Yes, I'm saying there are other human beings in the world apart from you. Your case is not the only case. There may be other cases where the wife was treated very badly.
Totally agree, sir.
So look at it from that point of view. See, you are only seeing it from your point of view. I can understand. That's why I say that you people look at it from a subjective point of view.
Yeah.
I look at it from an objective point of view because I'm not facing this. I'm not personally involved, so I'm more detached. And moreover, my training as a judge is hear both sides. Don't hear you alone. Hear your wife also. This is my training as a judge.
Mhm.
I'm more objective, more detached. So therefore, I can come to a more correct conclusion.
Mhm.
You people are personally involved. Therefore, you have a subjective, your viewpoint is bound to be subjective. I'm not criticizing you, but I'm saying that people who are personally involved are bound to be subjective. I'm saying there are some cases which I was informed where the wife comes from India and she's treated very badly, she's looked down upon, for H4 visa, and late to work whole day. She doesn't have any friends and all that. You are at least busy in your work. I'm not saying you don't have to struggle. You have to also struggle for 2 years, 3 years initially, but at least you are in your workplace and therefore the whole day you are occupied. Mentally occupied.
Correct.
I remember when I went to Chief Justice Madras.
Yeah, I saw your question. I
was Judge of Allahabad High Court, but then I was sent as Chief Justice Madras.
Yeah,
I used to go to the High Court, and so the whole day I was occupied doing the judicial work and administrative. My wife was sitting at home with the work, and problem was she did not know Tamil. So it was hard. It was harder for her.
I am seeing you.
It was not hard for me because I was occupied. You see, a person you mentioned about that you also had to work very hard for 2 years, but at least you were occupied.
Correct.
Your wife is not occupied.
Yeah.
So please understand from that point of view.
So one of the things Shubhangiji, I think the Shubhangiji was making some of the point. One thing is that I mean, sort of out here, like in US, what happens is first of all, like you're getting through actual domestic violence or something like that. Somebody is even beating or calling you names or something like that. One thing, I mean, these days, we agree that 10 years back, people didn't have internet. They didn't know what we had. You should call 911, and I think that should be told to everyone who comes to US, married or not unmarried, and cops will be here like within 4 minutes or so. And the kind of infrastructure these days they have is probably that's our suggestion, or I think anybody's suggestion would be to work to the system here, because the system here provides a lot of support. Because if you file, let's say, let me try. He's trying to dial in. I think people are trying to get to the
system in US is not government. System in India is government. The girl, the wife and the child are in India.
Ashwin, I posted the conference call number on the this thing. Yeah.
System in India has to be
see on the main page.
You may have a perfect system in America.
If you don't want,
yeah.
Now I don't know.
You won't be able to sleep at night, man. That's a lot of caffeine. This is I brought it for you. That's for you.
And the Indian courts are taking the view in Justice case that the decisions of US courts are not binding in India. They are just one factor which can be taken into consideration.
I think you're right that the other side of the equation is right, but the way to react to it is not to take the kid off to. A lot of people
look at it from this point of view. The kid has been taken illegally to India already. It was taken illegally. Now, if I'm a judge in India and a case for custody is you are an NRI in America, you come to India, you file a petition before me in India, and you request that I should order the child to be given to you, and you will take the child to America. And the child is 2 years, 3 years old. Do you think I'm not a human being? I may be a judge, but I'm a human being. I will not order a 2-year-old child to be wrenched away from the mother and taken away to America. I'm also a human heart. I will feel that 2-year, 3-year, 4-year child needs the love of a mother. Mother is closer to the child. So, it is better if we try, if we what Mr. K.K. will suggested that if we can formulate some scheme where the child can be brought for 2 months to America. After months, return to India. For those 2 months, you can have bonding with the child. You can look after the child. After 2 months, when the school reopens, the child will be there. But there also it will not be easy because some of the husbands having brought the child to America, they will say, now I should be given the child. So that safeguard will be very easy. What we can do, we can file, we can provide a scheme that you have to file, the father has to file case in the American court. and want to pray for a declaration and give an undertaking in the court on an affidavit.
In the US court.
US
So the guy is also at the state.
Yes,
Yeah.
court
Okay.
that he will return the child after 2 months and you will surrender your passport for those 2 months. So that you will not take away the child to Mexico or somewhere during that period. I mean, just look at it from that. All these safeguards have to be provided for the
Welfare of the mother and child, yeah.
Otherwise, you may bring the child and then you may take the child to Europe or Mexico or something, and the mother will left stranded. So you have to be, some scheme has to be formulated. And for those 2 months.
Both the sides are saying. The third angle is the perception back in India.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Nothing but negative. The perception.
Yeah, I mean that's. I
NRA
didn't
means
say.
you got loads of money, and NRA means you deserted the country and then you went back.
There is
So every stage you will face this difficulty. Apart from the law, apart from all the institutions and all that, you will find even the man speak will say, oh,
I didn't want to quote it in the appellate court. My father was asked openly that your son works in America. This was in the court of a district judge. And if you don't listen to your daughter-in-law, you and your son both will go in jail. This was an appeal, not a trial court. The trial has not even started. And they have been showing my payslip, which may be $100,000 or something. So they're saying, if he earns so much, why is he not coming and giving her what she wants? I didn't want to introduce that personal thing, but you were saying that people are looked down upon.
Perception,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Even the
looking very much up,
No, you are looked down upon as a man, but you have to give the money.
It translates into the fact that the 490-day complaints against NRIs are very easy to lodge and then have them, because sometimes the husband is obviously in US or some other country, but even a lot of other accused on the list are sitting outside of India, and still there is a criminal complaint against them, and then subsequent charge sheets and other things are also filed, and LOCs and passport revocation or impounding. So those things becomes very easy, and one of the driving forces negativity against people who are settled outside India.
in
general.
Some of the perception of NRIs, I mean, you is kind of Hollywood perception
Yes.
they make.
Sir, since you have seen so much, I'll tell you one thing. Even when I was in India as a kid, I used to think that every man who goes outside India can get a woman. You have seen us here. Do you think we are those kinds of playboys who can easily get a girl every night or something?
No, I mean there is one Mark
But that's the perception that's played.
So, are you not having more people on the hangout?
Yeah. So they are giving questions. So we'll go over the questions.
Will any human being do it? You forget the law for a moment. I mean, you are obsessed with the law. I am requesting you also to look at it from the humanitarian point of view. Judges are human beings. No judge will say that take the child away, 2-year-old child away from a mother and give it to the father who will take the child to another. So please do keep on harping on this issue that the child has been illegally abducted. Of course, illegally abducted, and therefore it was a criminal offense under that international child
Hague,
parental.
yeah.
No, apart from the Hague Convention, there is the international child. International Parental Kidnapping Crime Act 1993.
So all countries abide by it? Is it?
No, this is a US law.
Okay.
It's called International Parental Kidnapping Crime Act.
Federal law.
Yes, so it is so if the Americans do not apply in here. The point is that as a judge, as a human being, judge is also a human being. Sitting in India, if a case comes, here's a mother with a 2-year, 3-year-old child. Will any judge say, take away the child from the mother and let the child be sent to America? Will any judge do it? No judge will do it. So that is my reply to Mr. Ravi Parmar. He's going by the purely legal angle.
So one of the aspect to that happens is that many times in the reason they don't get the custody, many times even the mothers or even the father who take the wayward child to India, is that there might be some issues seen there as well. Like they may have there might be a proof of abuse or something like that, that's there too. So those things get decided. What I think he's referring to is that those things get evaluated, and sometimes many of the cases, what happens is the father gets, or the one parent gets primary custody because the other parent was maybe abusive or something like that. That's what the US court determined. And obviously the other person is not happy with it, and they run off with the kid to India. And there's situations like that too, where the mother or father who was the abductor, they were proven to be sort of abusive parents as well.
To prove abuse will also have to be decided by the court, isn't it? Whether he is abused or not. But the court will take 10 years to decide that.
Yeah.
People are living in the air, not living on the ground. It will take 10 years. Supposing the father comes to India and files the custody case in the Indian court and say that my wife who is keeping the child abuses the child. Okay. For that, and it will take years. And the Indian judiciary is so slow. There are 30 million cases pending in India. It will take 5 to 10 years for the trial court to decide whether there was abuse or not. Then, even if the trial court decides, then first appeal, then second appeal, it will drag on for 20 years. By the time it is decided whether there was abuse by the mother or not, it will take 15 years.
Yeah. So there was this comment, one comment from Mr. Jiju, whose picture was there. He's referring to there was a law commission report there coming up with shared custody recommendation.
Most of the law commission reports are lying in the dust in their offices. Nobody bothers about law commission report. There are so many reports. They are all lying, gathering dust in some room. Law commission is not parliament, by the way. It cannot make law. It can only recommend.
And review,
It can only recommend. It can't even review. Review is done by the judiciary. It can only recommend to the government that please make this law. So many recommendations have been made. Parliament is non-functional. I'm telling you, this law commission business, at least I have no faith in it. You will have to go to the Supreme Court directly and pray for directives. That binding directives should be given if you want something effective.
Yeah.
Law commission and all is called gathering dust. All the reports are gathering dust.
In a recent case,
Sir, I'm Sachin. Sorry to distribute these are some of the letters our edition had written.
Okay, please sit down. I mean, you should have come here at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
That was the time. I thought Americans are very punctual.
I'm still Indian, sir.
You should be sent back.
Case, the court advised the girl to marry the rapist.
Yes. That was a stupid judgment.
It was a stupid judgment.
Forget about that.
That is an extreme case. So here also the judiciary need not tear the child away from the mother. At least they can look into the circumstances and then tell the mother why don't you go and live with her. I mean, there are
listen, by the time I was a lawyer for 20 years and a judge for 20 years, and I can tell you, as a lawyer, I decided I handled so many divorce cases and custody cases, and I dealt with so many cases as a judge. Time the matter comes to court, the feelings between husband and wife are so bitter.
Yeah.
They are so deadly hostile to each other that it is next to impossible. I mean, they are psychological cases. They have become mental cases, both husband and wife. So, what was your suggestion? That
like in his case, I mean, there is hardly any ground. I mean, the judge can say that, I mean, you don't have any ground. And
you go back to America with to be with your husband. She has become the enemy of the husband, and you expect her to go back to her enemy. Is it possible? If she were to come back, she would not have gone at all. The fact is that she has become so hostile, she's not prepared to live with the husband. These are the realities. Yes.
There's a person on phone who has a question.
Yes.
Go ahead. Hello? Sai, go ahead.
Yes, please.
Go ahead with the question.
Sir, I heard you speak that as a judge, you have some human angle too, to when you give judgments. So I don't want this to be offensive, but you as a parent, would you be okay when you pass a judgment to see your kid just for 2 hours?
My answer is that I agree with Mr. K.K. Venugopal that we should devise a system where the child should be sent for 2 months to America to be with the father and bond with the father during the summer vacation holidays, and also if there are winter vacation holidays. The child should be ordered by the Indian court to be sent to America to be with the father, but a lot of safeguards must be provided so that when that 2-month period or whatever the vacation period is over, the child is returned to the mother in India. So that
let him finish.
It's not just for few hours, because some courts in India had passed the order that visitation right will be that the father can come for 3 hours in a week and meet the child. But that is unrealistic. How can a man living in America be expected to come every week to India and meet the child? It's not possible. So it's better that visitation right should mean that during the summer vacations, the child should be sent to America to be with the father and bond with the father. And after the vacations over, he's sent back. But the precaution there must be that it must be made certain that the child will be returned. Otherwise, there may be many fathers who will not send the child back, saying that he has been illegally abducted, so I am under no obligation to return the child once the child has come to America. So some strong legal safeguards must be provided for.
So, with regard to the recent judgment of Surya Vadanan on the child being returned back to UK, so is that going to be of any help for parents?
Which judgment?
The recent judgment about Surya Vadanan, Supreme Court had passed an order saying that foreign court orders should be enforceable with regard to child custody.
I'm not aware of this judgment.
Sai, like you can follow with a specific question.
I'm not aware of this judgment. The judgment which I read was of Dhanvanti Joshi's case, where it was said that orders of foreign courts are not binding in India, but they can be. They are just one factor which can be taken into consideration. So it is not that a judgment of a foreign court awarding custody to the father must be complied with in India. This is the law as I understand it. Just one.
Okay, but there was a recent judgment, I think the month of March.
Sai, can you take it offline? I mean, I think share the details over email with Sir.
You will have to send me the details. I'm not aware of this judgment. The law as I understand is that the judgments of foreign courts are not binding in India. They are just one factor which can be taken into consideration by the Indian court when deciding a case. India is not bound by the decisions of UK or USA. We are not by the way, we are not a British or American colony. We are an independent nation. So decisions of foreign courts are not binding on us. That is just one factor we may take into consideration.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So just one final question, sir. If you could, most of the landmark judgments that have happened with respect to child and habeas corpus, and they are not H4 people. It's usually like citizens of this country or green card holders who usually take the child to the India because it's a safe haven for them.
Sai, what's your question?
Yeah, I mean, my question is why are the courts not taking cognizance of that? It's not always H4 people. Usually, like in my own case, it's like she's a green card holder and she just took him away.
May I just reply very briefly? Supposing I am a judge sitting in India and a case comes before me, you are a man living in America, UK, and you come to India and you file a case that custody of the child, which is presently with the mother who was illegally abducted into India, should be handed over to you, and you want to take the child away to UK or America. Now, as a judge, I will see that here is a woman with a 2-year or 3-year-old child. Now, I am maybe a judge, but I am also a human being. Will I say that tear the child away from his mother? The 2-year-old child should be torn away from his mother and taken away to USA or UK. Will any judge do it? Look at it from the human point of view. Nobody will do it. You people are so over technical and just over legalistic. You don't see the human angle. Judges are also human beings. No judge will do that. They will say that.
No, I understand, sir. As a parent,
you people only see one aspect, that here is the child who have been illegally abducted from UK or USA, so he must be restored to USA or UK. Just from that angle you see. You don't see the other angle, that here is a child with a mother and the child is 2-year or 3-year, and you want the child to be torn away from the mother and taken to USA or UK. That aspect you will not see. Please consider this.
Thank you, Sai.
What is the solution for this? Because I see no woman over here. So
No, there are a lot
people
of
on the call, and he has made some suggestions.
I have made the suggestion that for 2 months in a year, when the holidays take place, let the child be sent to USA during the holidays, and so that he bonds with the father also. Father would also like to have emotional bonding with the child. But the safeguard must be provided, legal safeguard, that after 2 months, the child must be sent back to India. So 10 months he must spend in India, 2 months he can come to America. Some such scheme to be prepared. This is my suggestion.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
So one of the comment is said that how do you define, like in what cases we need to have it as part of the PIL Supreme Court to pass directive, in what kind of situation Indian court will take jurisdiction and which situation Indian court will not take jurisdiction. Because that's what happens, because there's unpredictability. Many times Indian courts say, okay, let me take the jurisdiction. Many times they say, okay, the US court had jurisdiction. So that's one of the. Hello? Hi, somebody had a question? Yeah, so just a okay, hold on. I was making a comment, and let Justice Katju answer to that, and then I'll take your question. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Now see this.
You want me to hold the line?
Yeah, hold the line.
This question about jurisdiction should not be pressed too much at this stage.
Okay.
To say, I mean, again, taking over legalistic view that it is only the US court which has jurisdiction. Indian court should not even consider the matter, because both the father and the child are US citizens. So India has nothing to do with the matter. You keep on speculating all this, but Indian courts will not listen to you, because factually the child is in India, factually the mother is in India. Then you may keep saying all this, but the Indian court will disagree with you, and they will say, no, we have jurisdiction. Then what are you going to do? Will you send your army to intervene? What will you do?
A very sensitive question.
Indian courts will will say we have jurisdiction. The child is here very much in India. He may have technically taken, I mean, because he was born in USA, may have got US, but we are not going to tear apart a child, small child, from his or her mother. Look at it from this point of view. People refuse to look at it from this human point of view. I mean, all the thinking is from the purely legal and hyper-technical point of view. You will not see the human from the human point of view.
But what about father?
I'm saying that, all right, I'm answering you. The mother is closer to a child, a small child particularly. A small child, 2 year, 3 year old child, requires mother more than the father. Yes, father also, I agree with you, and that's why I said that the via media can be that for 2 months in a year, the child should be sent to the father in the USA, so that for 2 months the child can also have bonding with the father. But after 2 months, there must be some safeguard that he should be returned to India. That way, if you know, this is a partial solution, mind you.
Yes.
It's not a final solution, but something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
At present, you are getting nothing. Your child is away. Many of you have not seen your children for 3 or 4 or 5 years. Ashwin had said that he has not seen his child for 5 years, daughter for 5 years.
Yeah, you may have seen it 3
No,
years
no,
ago.
his daughter's sisters also. Ashwin's daughter's sisters have not seen them.
And Ravi has not seen his son for 3 years. No.
So
If you get two interim, let us start with the interim. See, let's not
Perfect enemy of good.
Let's not aim at perfection. Let's start with a partial solution. At least something will happen. At least you will start seeing your children for 2 months in a year. My suggestion: let us go step by step instead of aiming at the
add to it winter vacation also.
something. Yes, something like that.
Honestly,
No.
Yes, on
So he's saying there will be there might be a PIL where people can.
Winter. That's a matter of detail.
Yeah,
If on principle you decide during holidays let the child come to the father and have. See, it will be in the interest of both. The father would like to bond with his child. Child will also benefit by having a father who will take care of him. So it's in the interest of the. But the mother will strongly object to this. I can tell you this. So directives have to come from the Supreme Court, because the mothers will not easily agree to this. So they are deadly hostile to their husbands. They feel my husband is an enemy. Why should he see my child even for 1 day? There are cases where they don't even permit the father to meet the child.
Yeah.
So, but if directives come from the Supreme Court, they will be bound. The police will ensure it.
Yeah.
You see, that's why I said let's try for a via media.
So, can we take a comment from the phone and then can you name yourself and then repeat the question and sort of make it specific, not a commentary as such?
You guys ready for the question?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, sir. We talked about, I don't know, sometime back, our guest talked about bringing wife to U.S. and she doesn't know anything. She's on a dependent visa. And one side of the story is the husband treats the wife, and the wife goes back to India, and the Indian courts have to provide justice to her. So my question is, if she was ill-treated in the U.S., she could go anytime to the U.S. court and get justice right here. And the problem in my case is, what happened in my case is she has already filed some criminal complaints here. She got protection order, and she got what she needed. And even though the criminal case is here in business, she went to India and filed a bunch of court cases on me, not only me, my parents as well. So this is like subjecting someone to twice punishment, right? So I understand the wife can be treated in one way. I mean, that's one point of view that has come to our attention. But how do we handle this situation here?
So you have basically, just to rephrase you for others, you had your same case relitigated twice in criminal court in both U.S. and India, and you had a question, or this was you want this to be also handled? Is that your question? Or
no, my question is, to be specific, my question would be, our Justice Katju sir said the wife being ill-treated in the U.S. and she ends up in India and she's asking for justice. So as a judge,
I think he was not the wives are treated. He was saying like some wives.
some. double dip? Like, what will
He's
be
talking about double re-litigation
Now
problem.
my answer is the law is not certain on this.
Yeah.
The law is uncertain on this. The law has to be clarified. It is not yet clear. And also in India, there's many laws which were made to protect the women, like Section 498A and Prevention of Domestic Violence Act.
PWDA.
But they are grossly misused.
Yeah.
They were meant for protecting women, but they are used as a tool by vindictive women to harm their husbands, to ventilate their hostility. They are grossly misused. So the point is that the laws are there. It's unfortunate in India, some kind of, anarchic conditions are prevailing. And these laws are there. And cases when the wife has a differences with the husband, she goes to a lawyer. Lawyer, instead of trying to reconcile the parties, he says it's a very good case, straight away file a 498A case. And in that, not only the husband is implicated, but husband's parents, aged grandparents, cousins, granduncles, aunts, and so on. And sometimes all of them are arrested and sent to jail, with the result that now reconciliation becomes impossible. Because if a woman has sent her husband's parents to jail, which self-respecting man will reconcile with such a woman? So, unfortunately, many lawyers, they don't look into it. They are greedy. They just want money. So they said, yes, very good case. Laga do 498A and Prevention of Domestic Violence Act. All these laws are grossly misused, but they are there. And the fact is that police also gets an advantage. They go, they are largely corrupt. They get an opportunity to make money. They go to all those people who have been made accused. You give me money, otherwise I will send you to jail. This is the situation in India. Please understand the realities, social realities of India. Somewhat disturbed conditions are prevailing in India. So these are the realities, and so let us go by the realities, not by the theory. This is my answer to you.
So my question is.
Okay, thank you, Sanjay.
There is no political will.
Just one thing, folks on the Hangout, you can call my number. I've shared it on this thing if you have questions. So just call me directly if you have questions, and I'll share it with Justice Katju.
So, by the way, I don't have any case against me. I don't have any child abduction, nothing.
You had it ever?
Never.
Oh, you never had it?
Yeah, I never had it. You might have heard about Russian Foundation.
So how are you associated with the cause? You just as a
let him finish it.
So,
Let him give.
Russian
We can have the
Foundation
rest of the
actually
count.
takes care of these things whenever I issues and talks to the government. And I represent Russian Foundation, and I've worked extensively on 498A. So I've met the Parliament and all about 498A. My question is, I have met with several Supreme Court justices. Everyone accepts that 498A is they also know that there is absolutely no political will in order to change it because of the pressure from women organizations.
Please hold. Please hold. Take your question. Just stay on that.
What can judiciary do while judiciary has done all that they can do? The Supreme Court has issued several landmark judgments about how it has been used and everything. And the politicians, and we know that only Parliament can change a law. So at that point of time, and also 498 is actually kind of the platform where all these things meets up, whether it's child abduction, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's related to custody laws. So as a justice, if you were sitting, right now you are not in Supreme Court, but if you were a sitting justice and you know obviously that all these things are happening, how would we change partially?
Firstly, you get rid of this idea that Parliament makes the law. In India, Parliament does not make laws. Parliament is paralyzed. Parliament does nothing except shouting and screaming the whole day. I don't know whether you see television of Now this session is going to start monsoon session. Already the disruption has been announced over this Lalit Modi's case. The whole session will be disrupted, right? And from day one there will be no business transaction. Parliament has become a redundant organization. It is just a hollow, empty shell. So please don't have this idea that Parliament is making law. It will do nothing. But a new technique was evolved by the Indian Supreme Court in Vishaka's case.
Okay, yeah.
Well-known case about this protection of women from sexual harassment in workplace. Well-known judgment, where the Supreme Court said that now we will make the law, and this will be the law until Parliament makes some different law. So this was a sort of a technique evolved. Well, strictly speaking, it was not legitimate because the task of lawmaking is that of the legislature, not of the judiciary. Theoretically, yes. But in certain circumstances, when the legislature is paralyzed, it is unable to make the law, and the law is very much required. Then the judiciary makes the law, and it says that, and this was what I did in Aruna Shanbok's case, the mercy killing euthanasia case.
Yes.
I said this will be the law of passive euthanasia. We permitted passive euthanasia. Otherwise, even that was not permissible in India legally. But we said that will be the law until Parliament makes a law. And then Parliament met and said, the government said that we will accept the Supreme Court verdict. We don't need to make a law. This will be the law.
Okay.
So it will be the judiciary which will make the law now in India.
Okay. So then maybe if we file a PIL about directives about 498A and
we have to get a strong directive. We have to give concrete cases. One case is of Kamal. He has mentioned about his own case, how he has been harassed.
Yes.
I mean, there are many cases where you people can't even go to India out of fear of being arrested, your passport being impounded. I mean, intolerable situation. You lose your job because for 1 year you will not get your passport, and then in the meantime you'll be sacked.
Yeah. So some of the documents that I just gave to you, sir, just as an illustration, those that have actually the stories of other people who are probably a little old now.
So let's also share by email as well.
Sure.
So let me take one of the person is from Seattle. He's calling. So let me.
Okay.
Gaurav, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Just keep it brief and sort of to the point. Go ahead.
Hello, Katju sir. This is Gaurav from Seattle.
Yes.
And I'll really briefly go over my case. So I filed for divorce here, and my wife here works in a really good company, and she has a own equity and everything. She's very independent, and she filed 498A against me and my parents and my mother, who's a cancer patient undergoing treatment here, and she filed no police complaints here, nothing here, and instead in the court she signed documents saying there was nothing, no problem, and she even denied her association with the FIR when it was brought to court's attention, and the court here found that the whole incident is an abusive use of conflict, and the court actually in this case US court, it defines abuse of conflict, which means if one parent is trying to bully other parent and trying to get a leverage on the kid, the court actually really frown upon them, and they basically take the custody from that parent and give it to another. Why does the Indian court do that? When it's clearly evident that this kind of action of one parent to another is detrimental to child's psychology and future, why don't we take that such things into account? When it's clearly evident that when the kid grows up, he would be poisoned against the other parent, and he would be alienated from the other parent. So that's one of my questions. The question I have is, I understand that the 498A was made for a noble cause, but we just need one simple modification in the law that says something like, if you file a false 498A case, then the punishment is severe. And I think that should be, that's a good deterrent enough to prevent misuse of this case. There have been so many judgments from Supreme Court, and they've been saying it's being misused, but there's very little action to actually
Gaurav, can you sort of keep it kind of short and like exactly sort of what's your question?
So yes, that's my question. I'll talk on that.
Okay.
Now, are you talking of a custody case or 498A case?
So he has a.
So I'm talking about both. So in one case, which is my own, the court actually found filing of false 498A case in India as an abusive use of conflict.
Well, that's a decision of a US court, not a decision of an Indian court. The finding that the proceedings were abusive was given by a US court, not an Indian court. A US court findings are not binding in India. So how does it matter? How is it relevant? It's just one factor which may or may not be taken into consideration. The question is.
So my question is that.
So let him finish.
You find that there is an abusive use of.
Who finds? The US court finds or the Indian court finds?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yes, if the US court finds, it is irrelevant. The US court is not, decisions on the foreign court decisions are not binding in India.
So
that is the law.
That's correct, sir. Sir, my question is that abusive use of conflict is seen as detrimental to child.
So what's your suggestion, Gaurav?
That's not seen in India.
Listen, whether it is abusive use or not has to be determined by the Indian court. The determination by the US court is not relevant. Has there been a decision by an Indian court that 498 proceedings were abusive? I'm asking you, is there a determination by an Indian court?
No, not yet, sir.
Then it is irrelevant.
Yeah.
US court decisions are not binding in India. India is a sovereign, independent country. Your courts may decide anything they like.
So Gaurav, let's take it offline. I know the other people as well. I mean, just back and forth. I think probably in his case also his mother is here and she cannot go back. She's going through cancer treatment. That's she cannot go back. So that's the situation. I guess
we have to give directives from the Indian Supreme Court.
Predictable.
Yes, where we clear-cut guidelines, strong guidelines as to how the lower courts, that means courts subordinate to the Indian Supreme Court, are to deal with this situation. Because the decisions of Supreme Court are binding on the inferior courts and all authorities in India under Article 141 of the Indian Constitution. All authorities have to carry out the directives of the Indian Supreme Court. So we have to go to the Indian Supreme Court and get such directives.
Okay.
One comment which I wanted to make is like when a child is involved and like a lot of times what we see the 498 is used like at any point in time. It can happen like if the parents have separated and the 498 is initiated like 2-3 years after the separation also. Most of the times the reason could be if the order is not favorable and the hostility is so high that even a partial visitation or a practical visitation is not acceptable to mother and she initiates 498 against the husband and family. So I think the court should still keep in the view that the custody case is not just the custody, but it's a wide case and the other things also should be taken into account at that point.
What is your question? I'm not able to.
No, I'm just trying to comment on the fact that when the father is kind of disabled from traveling, or there is a LOC or NBW or all the different type of legal things are against him. In that case, when a custody thing is being considered by the court should take into account the whole picture that there cannot be a dowry demand like 2 years after the child is separated from father.
Custody case, I'm again and again telling you, you are again and again diverting the whole issue.
You had a comment?
I'm saying the court will not award custody to a father in the case of a child who is 2-year or 3-year-old. Just simple thing I'm saying, and people are not able to understand.
Okay.
Just consider, as a human being, supposing you are a judge, and a mother comes before you with a 2-year-old child, will you say that take away the child from her and send her child to America?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is
it will not be done. theoretically, it seems very well to say that the child was illegally abducted from America. There was a decision of a US court that the child custody must be with the father and all that. Keep on saying all that. But the reality is the Indian court will not award custody of a small child to the father. They will feel that mother is the best placed child.
I think the PIL which you're talking about, probably that will, I mean, some of the
Yes.
process which
We
you
must,
take.
you see, this aspect I can understand that you would like bonding with your children. When child is small, you can't have bonding with the boy is 20 years of age. You want him when the child is small. Naturally, you would like to play with your child, be with your child. If an arrangement can be made that for 2 months in a year, the child can be sent to America to be with you, you can play with the child when you come back from work and so on. But after 2 months, you must send the child back. That safeguard must be provided. It should not be that after 2 months you say, I will not send the child back. That we have to work out how that can be ensured. Otherwise, there can be many fathers who will say, all right, I brought it, but now why should I send the child back because my child was illegally abducted? So all that we have to arrange for.
So we have, can we take a comment on the phone? Nihar, can you provide a comment? You were waiting. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Justice Katju, I have a comment actually. I've been hearing this and you said like you're sympathetic to the mothers. We don't want the child to be separated from the mother and all that. That is good and that is understandable. But my question is, my opinion is that the feeling is like prevalent throughout Indian judiciary, but there have not been same amount of concern or even a quarter of that concern or even a fraction of that concern shown towards the parent, towards the dad, right?
Can you you have a specific question, Nihar, or comment? Specific comment?
No, it's just a comment. I mean, I just feel frustrated when I feel that the judiciary is not seen when we're talking about equality of sexes, when we're talking about women empowerment and all that. We're talking about equality, but not in terms of not just in terms of rights, but we're not assigning any responsibilities on them. We're not saying that you are responsible for upholding the laws of the country that you're living in. You cannot a woman who has been living in US for like 10 odd years, she cannot claim a victim in the Indian courts. If you are really a battered woman, why didn't you seek an relief in US? But the laws are fair, where you can actually get visa, get citizenship based on the visa.
What is the question? I can't.
So what is Nihar? Can you limit? I mean, I think Justice Katju already went over some of the
What
points.
is your question exactly?
Yeah.
My question is that it's not a question; it's a comment actually. I think the judiciary is unfairly, unfairly thinking that the woman is a victim in a lot of these matrimonial cases.
No, actually, I'm.
So Nihar, I think he's his. Okay, let me paraphrase him. Basically, what he's saying is that why not treat women and men same when it comes to custody cases?
I'm answering. I'll answer you that. See, women and men are not the same. Woman is closer to a child. Men are not pregnant. It is women who are pregnant, and women conceive the child. Women deliver the child. Woman is closer to the child, at least in the early years, and that is the law of nature. Now, I can understand that you, as a father, would also like to bond with your child. That is quite understandable, and therefore I have suggested via media that we should obtain orders from the Indian Supreme Court that let the child be with the mother in India for 10 months in a year, but for two months in a year, let the child go to America, be with the father, so that the father also bonds with the child with adequate safeguards that after 2 months the child will be returned to the mother. So this is a via media. this will, it's a partial solution to the problem. Not, I don't claim a perfect or absolute solution, but something is better than nothing. Otherwise, you will get nothing. There are people here who have not seen their children for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. They have not been,
Nihar, let him finish.
so
Nihar, let
at
him.
least now you will at least see your child for 2 months in a year. That your child will be with you. It would have been best if the child were with you for 12 months in a year. That would have been the ideal solution. But things in the world are not ideal. So let us have a via media which is practicable, which the courts may accept. If we seek such a directive from the Indian Supreme Court, this can be worked out. Otherwise, if you want that child to be permanently removed from India and brought to America just because the wife illegally abducted the child, I can tell you no Indian court will do that.
Okay, thank you, Nihar.
Sir, I agree with you, whatever you're saying, that's practical because my question is, let's say we're going to file a PIL. What is that to make our case strong? What is that we need to provide? Because
How should we enable you? How
what
should
kind
we
of
empower
information
you?
you need from us, or
I will get all the details of specific cases, certain specific cases. Say half a dozen specific cases, giving all details about what difficulties you have faced and what mental trauma you have been through. So that will create a good impression in the Supreme Court that it's a genuine problem. And we will prepare a draft of this petition and then circulate it to all of you. You may also see and make suggestions how to improve it, add or delete to it. And then when it is finalized with the lawyers in the Supreme Court, then we will file it.
And is there something, I think a lot of us sort of feel sort of helpless? What can we do on individual basis ourselves to, I mean, I don't know, solve this problem? I mean, besides PIL, is there anything in your mind which we can do?
See, I don't think you will be able to do it on an individual basis unless you go to the Supreme Court, get directives, because as I told you, the law is very uncertain and unpredictable in India on this subject.
Yeah.
There are different judgments. The 1984 judgment in Sandhu's case said that that was a case where both the parents were living in UK, and the father brought the child to India. Surinder Sandhu.
Yeah, it's right that.
An Indian court said no, the child must be sent back to UK. But thereafter, a different view was taken in Dhanvanti Joshi's case in 1999. In that case, the UK court had ordered custody to one parent. So that law of the UK court must be abided by. That law, that earlier judgment was modified in the subsequent judgment. So the law on this subject is uncertain, unsettled. We need to settle the law, and therefore we need to file a comprehensive petition and pray for clear-cut directives from the Supreme Court, which are binding on all authorities and all courts in India.
Yeah, given that so many now Indians are NRIs, I mean, there's a need for
I think 2,000 abductions are taking place every year. I'm told, I saw on the internet, almost 2,000 abductions are taking place every year. So law needs to be settled because this is a big problem. Not just your individual cases, but a large number of other cases. So we must have clear-cut the directives. And once you get such a judgment from the Supreme Court, then showing that judgment in the subordinate court, you can get suitable orders. But you have to get directives from the Supreme Court because the lower courts take different views and they give all kinds of judgments and they take years and years to decide. We must also get one directive that such cases where the abduction of an NRI must be decided within a time-bound frame.
Actually, all the matter.
Otherwise it becomes infructuous. You see, if the case is decided after 10 years, the child has grown up. He's no longer a child. He's become a young man or young woman. So that very purpose is lost of the bonding at an early age. So it must be decided quickly. Otherwise, the purpose is lost.
Hi, you had a question? Hello? Hello? You had a question? Yeah, you have a question? You have a question, Yash? Yeah, go ahead.
So basically my question is, in the case of NRI,
Can you speak up louder?
okay, in the case of NRI, one of the problems is long trial. So one of my questions is like how should how does the Supreme Court give any kind of directive with respect to speedy trials, especially for the context of NRI?
So
Because it is a fact, it is for giving permission that the entire trial is over for months of the time. Also, possibly more than
okay. So Yash, your sound is not coming, but let me paraphrase your question. So what he is asking about is how to, in case of NRIs, like you, even if they are willing to, let's say, facing criminal cases, they want to go to India and finish up the trial. They want to face the court, and they want to. I think his comment is that we should have facility of speedy trial, like finish the trial within 1 or 2 months, so that they can return to job, and because
Correct.
they feel
Again, that also should be part of this comprehensive PIL, which should be filed in the Indian Supreme Court. See, we have to seek large number of directives from the Indian Supreme Court. So this can also be one of the directives. We have to prepare a very comprehensive petition. So this can also be included in that.
Okay. Got it. Thanks, Yash.
So you have brought this point over and over. Well, I'll ask you a question. You would be personally involved in the PIL so that your might is there when the PIL is fine. Your name is behind it, right?
You will guide
We don't
us
want it to
put
be
in
like
the right way.
We want your leadership. That's the
I will be very much there, and I have told you that I don't need any money for this. If you satisfy me that injustice has been done to you, that is all I require from you. Once you are satisfy me, then I don't need any money. I am not a merchant. I will do this as a duty to people like you.
But
Yes, we engage some lawyers. And I request the lawyer to charge concessional fees, because I know most of the Supreme Court lawyers, senior lawyers. I was a judge in the Supreme Court. I request them. So the senior lawyer and the junior, you may have to pay fees. You don't have to give any money to me.
But my question was toward the fact that you will be there when
Yes,
the
very
PIL.
much.
It's like Sir Katju is involved in this cause when the Supreme Court hears it, right?
Correct. No,
it won't be like some faceless.
What I
petition,
intend to do, I'll form an organization in India, of which I will be the patron.
Okay.
And I will request some senior lawyers to be either Mr. P.K. Rao or somebody to be the president of this organization. But I will be the patron and the driving force behind this.
Okay.
So that we have a team of people who will work to help you.
So it will carry your name, you're saying?
Yes, of course, as a patron.
One question is, I think out of 30 judges in the Supreme Court, almost everybody would agree that 498A is misused. So whether it is 498A related or child abduction related, would there be a sympathetic cause towards changing 498A in your opinion? Or
498A cannot be changed. It is a law made by Parliament. Only Parliament can amend the law, but it can be interpreted in a favorable way.
Okay.
So we will seek a direction interpreting it. Specifically in the case of NRIs,
yes,
it should be interpreted in a more liberal way, not to harass you people. Can I use your restroom?
Yeah,
I can show you it.
Is this over?
Yeah, let me stop the broadcast. Guys, we'll stop the broadcast and call me back if you have questions.
No, I can come back after this.
Yeah, I'll stop. We'll pause for 5 minutes, okay?
5 minutes, yes.